got some clients going on now. That's great.
I got new clients. I got new clients from the money flow or money woes series.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's super cool.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. Well, I'll be back eventually. I'm just trying to work my way through my stuff. But yeah, I loved our session. It was awesome. And yeah, I see how powerful you are. I just love the way you talk. I mean, you just got such a really amazing way of speaking, and your intuition is spot on. I feel like that's what I felt during our session. So here we are. We are with Lesia Kohut. She is a client and friend of mine now. I seem to make friends with all my clients, which is really cool. But I'm super excited to have her on the show. It's the Eloquent Entrepreneur, Conversations with Everyday Change Makers. And she is a spiritual practitioner, soul excavator, personal coach, educator, and meditation center. So Lesia, I want you to introduce yourself because you're a much better speaker than me. So let's hear all about you, your business, what you've been up to. I know you've got lots on the go, so let's hear it.
Yeah. Okay. Linda, thank you for that lovely introduction. And thank you for having me on the Eloquent Entrepreneur. It is a joy and an honor and a pleasure to just hang out with you this way and to support stuff that you're working on as well. And I just want to give Linda a shout out because she is an extraordinary being herself. She is a photographer extraordinaire, so talented, so creative. I have worked with her. My daughter has worked with her, and I look forward to working with her again because as soon as we did our photo shoot a couple of years ago, which was this like super fun, amazing all day event, as soon as we were done, I'm like, oh, now I have all these ideas for the next shoot.
Well, that's what's so exciting about personal branding is because we're not static beings, right? We change and evolve, and there's so many other facets to us as human beings. So it's gonna be awesome. So.
Yeah. So okay, let's see. It's funny because I was thinking just a few hours ago, I'm like, did I send Linda a bio? Does she want a bio from me? What is she going to say when she introduces me? But here, I guess I get to do that myself. So as Linda said, my name is Lesia Kohut, and I am a licensed spiritual practitioner, licensed through the Emerson Theological Institute out of California. I am currently almost finished this year's inaugural Advanced Consciousness Studies class, which is being offered and taught by Dr. James Mellon from the Global Truth Center, Los Angeles, which is where I studied my was in the spiritual practitioner program as well. It is affiliated, that center is affiliated with the Emerson Theological Institute. And this class that I have been in since September, and we have about 6 weeks left to go, has probably been one of the most extraordinary, life-altering experiences I have had thus far that I'm aware of anyway. I have been immersed. I just wrote a newsletter about it today. I have been immersed in a class that is half filled with ministers who have been practicing, have had their own ministries and centers for many years, even decades. It is filled with people who have been immersed in some form of new thought or mindfulness teachings or philosophies where you basically are of the ilk that we create our own reality. And with less or fewer than 5 years of spiritual study and consciousness studies under my belt, I have felt like the baby for much of the year. But baby or not, it's almost like, if you want to get smarter, surround yourself with smarter people. If you want to be a better person, surround yourself with better people. And this class experience this year has just been so incredible, so expansive, so stretching, so life affirming, and just has pulled and stretched and challenged and just like twisted everybody up and thrown everybody to the wind, and we all gather each other and ourselves up again and do it all over again from week to week. And a lot of it has had to do with the fact that we've been immersed in quantum physics. And so one of my favorite books, which I'm just going to give a little plug for right now, called The Quantum Revelation by Paul Levy, It's the book that we are finally finishing up this week, and it is one of my favorite books I have ever read. It has been responsible for me opening up to a completely different worldview, to a completely way of seeing how I show up in the world, of what I expect of myself, of what I see myself capable of, and how, among other things, to relate to others. Because one of the main
Mhm.
that we teach is that there's only one thing going on, and it's not even so much a thing as it is an ongoing creative process. So there's this universal energy. It's the only thing that's happening, that's evolving, that's emerging, that's infusing itself through and as everyone, and everyone and everything is it in its entirety. So, to really, really, really sort of absorb that and allow that to just sort of, imbue itself through every single fiber of my being, to be in community with these amazing minds and open hearts and brilliant souls in this class, to have Dr. James as my teacher for a third year, and likely next year for a fourth, as I finish off ministerial studies. It has just been extraordinary, and I am so excited because it feels like I've come alive, and I've said this before at different times of my life as well, but this is just another one of those, whether it's like a layer has been peeled off, a wall has been knocked down, like I've dug
Mhm.
into and discovered this incredible treasure that's been there all along, which is more like the soul
Mhm.
excavation work that, I like to call the
Yeah.
work. It's all been happening, and it's all leading up to, just me showing up more authentically. It's getting me a bachelor's degree in advanced consciousness studies. It is counting as my first year of ministerial studies. I'm going to have my first manuscript submitted, my very first book that I'm writing as
Oh,
my final
very
assignment.
cool.
And it's connected me with more and more and more people who I feel kind of help me to live my why, which is to empower the conscious awakening of humanity so that together we can cultivate a global community founded in love. So that's kind of what's happening for me these
That's so
days.
funny. I was about to just bring attention to that very sentence because that's on your Facebook page. And I just wanted to, I mean, it's what you do is so expansive and so empowering. And so that really kind of pulls it all together, I think, for people watching. Like, and you call yourself a soul excavator. So can you expand on that a little bit and how you help your clients? Because I think that, I mean, all the work you're doing is, I mean, it may go over some people's heads, I don't know. But at the same time, I mean, the way you just, encompass that in that sentence, I think that really does, um, explain very simply what you do. But let's talk about your soul excavator. Like, what does that mean, and how does that pertain to your work with clients,
Sure.
and how you help people and make a difference?
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, firstly, soul excavation, I feel, is an ongoing lifetime process, and it begins with me. It just
Yeah.
everything that I do, it starts with me. And I firmly believe, and it took most of my life to get there, that it is so important to put ourselves first and to nourish and work on ourselves first, because when we
Mhm.
do, then we get to show up as our most amazing, authentic, powerful, vibrant,
Yeah.
vital selves for everyone else, in our lives. So for me, there's the proverbial peeling away the layers of the onion metaphor, as you kind of
Mhm.
work through yourself. But for me, it's over the last several years has felt more like an archaeological dig, which is why the term excavation came up. And it feels like that because for me, it really is about digging into, just like digging into the muck, those
Mhm.
limiting thoughts, beliefs, and stories that feel, keep us feeling stuck, like anxiety and worry and fear. And am I worthy? Am I good enough? Am I educated enough? Will I ever make enough money, kind of thing? Am I lovable? That
Mhm.
kind of stuff. That it's just, these are things that can really feel us keeping so stuck and so paralyzed, even at times, that we feel like there's no way we could possibly break free, possibly move forward as anything other than what we have been familiar with, for so
Yeah.
long. And so for me, it's about like digging into unearthing, and not just unearthing, which is really sort of awareness, becoming aware of those thoughts, stories, and beliefs, but it's about starting to realize and sort of dig into and unearth the idea or the concept that we're so much infinitely more powerful and bigger than any of those thoughts, stories, and
Mm-hmm.
beliefs. That what we are, it's not those things. It's not the experiences that we've had. We are the thing that is creating those experiences. We are the thing that is creating our life. And that's not this body. That's not even my brain or,
Mm-hmm.
my mind. It's something so much bigger. Some people call it consciousness. Some people call it spirit, source. Some people
Mm-hmm.
call it God, love, light, creativity even. And that's what I'm into. That's what I'm studying. That is what I'm into discovering, and exploring and unearthing for myself. And that's what I love to support other people in doing. So it's about
Mm-hmm.
that digging into unearthing, and not even sort of, finding stuff along the way as much as it is discovering stuff that's like that we are, that's been there all along, and it just got kind of
Yeah.
covered up and mucked up with all of these limiting ideas and thoughts and beliefs and stories that honestly aren't, most of which aren't even ours. It's either they get passed down from, our
Yeah.
family, our community, generationally, culturally, intergenerationally. If you think in terms of the quantum field, which is infinite in scope, that means all the thoughts, all the ideas, all the memories, all experiences, everything is just there lying in possibility. So as soon as something, kind of comes to mind, as soon as we experience something, it's something that already exists and is available. We just, decide to put our awareness or our focus on it. So I support clients in shifting focus or shifting awareness away from the stuff that has kept them feeling stuck in the muck, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
to shifting to something that is more life affirming and more expansive, more positive, more confidence, inducing, that kind of stuff. That's the work that I do.
Right. Yeah. And that's the part that really excites me. And I mean, I think like I totally believe in everything you're saying. Like, I mean, that we are infinite possibility. And, but of course, as you know, I've had my share of anxiety and limiting beliefs and everything
We
like
all
that.
do.
But I think like, yeah, like having that shift, I know that even that one session I had with you really helped shift that in me. Um, but it's also kind of like, I don't know, have you ever experienced like clients who are like, because I've kind of experienced like the thought or the idea that, okay, I am a pretty powerful person. Like I know that in my heart. But that kind of scares me too, because I'm like, oh my God, like, do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
there's the other side of it. We're like, okay, well, I don't know if I want to go there, like, because I don't know if I want to put myself out there or too much, or like how powerful am I? And because you get stuck in being a certain way, and I don't, not that I've been playing small, but like, like I know I could be playing a lot bigger,
Yeah.
but there's something that kind of limits me too, because I'm like, how powerful am I? And that's kind of a daunting thought as well. Do you know what I mean?
I
Does
do.
that make
Yeah,
sense?
I do. And that it reminds me of, I know that you attended one of the Money Flow or Money Woes events that I had recently. And this reminds me of what Maria Namath calls trouble at the border. Actually, it also appeared in the Quantum Revelation book by Paul Levy as well, but it was someone else who used that term. And that trouble at the border is what Marianne Williamson is talking about in her famous quote, which I can't remember right now, but is
Oh,
exactly about what you're talking about, how it's not what that it's not like the limitations that we're afraid of. We're afraid of the light and the expanse and how infinitely powerful we are. And the
yeah,
reason for that is because it's unknown to us, and so as we move, from where we are now,
yeah.
what we are
We're
familiar with, our
comfortable.
comfort
Yeah,
zone, and
yeah,
then we're like reaching for those big lofty dreams, and then all of a sudden there's what Maria Namath calls trouble at the border, which I think is so fantastic, because it's all about really those thoughts, stories, and beliefs starting to bubble up and go, hold on, we have it pretty good right here where we are. We know what to expect. We know what's going on. Like we've been here for long enough. There's no need to go and experience something different or something new, because you know what if,
or you fail, what if this happens and you just screw up and you try to take on too much or be too much, or I mean, I know these are thoughts in my head that I'm like, okay, I got to just stay where I am. I shouldn't go too big for my britches, because I'm going to get criticized. I'm going to be judged. I'm going to fall on my face. It's not going to work. Yeah. So I totally, hear what you're saying.
in saying all, or in asking all those what ifs though, we're not even like asking, well, what if I succeed? What if I go further than I could possibly imagine? What if like the most amazing stuff happens and then just keeps happening? What if I meet the most amazing people? What if this project comes like, and what if really, I mean, it's all in the future, right? And so when it comes down to it, what is ours to do is focus on right now in this moment. And because that's the only thing that is, and it's not even that it's real, but that's where we can put our attention on this moment, because it's changing all the time. And so it's kind of, what are you more interested in? Are you interested in the drama or in the dreams? Are you interested in the anxiety that you're experiencing, or in taking action and moving forward? And what kind of was a great thing to hear from Maria Namath for me was that the people who do take action, the people who do go and forge into unknown territory, and who go and are just hell bent on creating from the new and the infinite and the possible, they still have all those thoughts and ideas and stories and everything bubbling up, all those questions, all those doubts and second guessing. They just don't give them as much attention as they do, moving forward and stepping into action. So it's not that they're different. It's not that, they're necessarily wired differently. It's they choose, thank you. This has been great for now, but I choose this. And that's what I'm
doing. And it's so true. I mean, I've heard this from years, and it always sticks with me, like what you focus on expands. And it really is true. Like the more you focus on the negative, and, like you just made it, like we should be asking different questions. What if I succeed? Like, I don't think I've ever asked myself a question, and that's just because, I don't know, just the way I've been brought up or whatever, or conditioned. But asking ourselves the right questions that are going to set ourselves up to win, basically. So no, that's awesome. So, I mean, how are you? I mean, you're here to inspire everyone who's watching, and me. And I mean, I know you're already making an impact, but how do you feel you're making an impact? Like, how do you see this? Because I know you're growing your coaching business and you're still educating yourself. And I know you have your podcast, which is amazing, which we'll talk about as well, called Who Do You Think You Are, which is all part and parcel of all the work you're doing. So in your own words, like, how do you feel you're making an impact?
Well, I think
a loaded question.
No, it is. It's a great question. And I think I might answer it slightly differently, even 5 minutes from now or an hour ago. But
I could give you my answer.
It's kind of like the who do you think you are when I ask people at the beginning of our podcast.
I know.
Which you're going to have to answer too, Linda.
I know. I got to psych myself up for that.
I really, like I said before, I really believe that it starts with me, and the more authentically I can show up, the more I can play what my friend and fellow classmate would say is my bigger game. The more I can do that, the more I can really just step into that amazing flow of who and what I am, what I am capable of, and the life that I am meant to live. The more I bring to the world, starting by the people around me, the people I work with, then sort of that trickle effect. And I feel like when you kind of like pare it all away, that's kind of the simplest thing. And so even though I love working with clients, and I am so delighted to keep working with clients and meeting new people and just connecting with people and supporting people in that way, none of it would work if I didn't keep working on myself, and if I didn't keep paying attention to how I show up, to what I think of myself. To I wrote about it in a newsletter that is probably coming out right now.
I know, it just
About,
came in actually.
yeah,
My
about
notification.
just
Yeah.
you
Oh,
know,
and
all
yeah,
these.
everyone has to read Lesia's newsletter and watch your YouTube channel too. We have some great, very inspiring, educational, informational
Thank you.
content. So anyway,
So,
carry on.
so yeah, working through any of those thoughts, beliefs, and stories, any of those doubts, any of the second guessing, which does come up. And like I wrote, sometimes they're tiny little, niggly nudges, and sometimes it's like a battering ram upside the head, and you wonder, like, how am I going to make it through this? But
Yeah.
ultimately, I keep working on myself, and I'm also, at least this is what it feels like, I'm also far enough along on my journey and the unfoldment of my process that I know when those times come, when that kind of stuff happens, that it's likely a period of extreme growth. And it's, the
Mm-hmm.
ego or those thoughts and stories and beliefs just like clinging on
Yeah.
with claw marks to keep me from
Yeah.
expanding. But it's like
Yeah.
little chicks, like they're in this eggshell that is this like beautiful home with, this nourishing yolk that they sup on for however long, they're in there for. I can't even remember how long chicks are in an egg. But eventually, if they don't start pecking out of that egg, it becomes toxic and they'll die. So I'm, it sounds kind of harsh, but I feel like that can happen for us too. If we continue to limit ourselves by being afraid, by doubting, by worrying, by being anxious, it's almost like we're killing our spirit and squashing our soul because it wants to come alive. It is an active creative thing that is
Mm-hmm.
always flowing. And if we keep like, oh, I could never do that, oh, I don't know enough, oh, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough time, I don't have the right degree, well, we're just like constantly closing the door and shutting ourselves off
Mm-hmm.
from this incredible, amazing, awesome experience that is ours to have.
Mm-hmm.
If only we just say, yes, it's frightening, I'm terrified, however, I'm going to say yes and just see what happens. I just got
So is
goosebumps
that
when I
kind of
said
like a tip you would give to people? Like, because I mean, we're always, barraging ourselves with these thoughts and
yeah.
limiting beliefs. And is that is that kind of a tip you would give? Like, just, okay, stop yourself. Like, how would you, what's a practical tip we can do to kind of, recognize those thoughts?
Well, I think
But
that's the key there, Linda,
okay.
is what you just said,
Yeah.
recognition or awareness.
Yeah.
And because I mean, this is not to limit when someone is going through a very intense depression or psychological
Yeah.
shift or episode or whatever. I mean, I still believe that it's all energy. So there is, some energy work and consciousness work that can be done to support that as well.
Yeah.
However, it all begins with awareness, because if we aren't aware of what is holding us back, and we just keep sort of like ramming up against these thoughts and beliefs and these feelings of just feeling less than and small and weak, and I couldn't possibly, I don't have it in me, I don't know how, then if we don't realize that those are just thoughts, which is not to trivialize how incredibly profound and
Mm-hmm.
paralyzing they can feel, but they are just thoughts, and that
Mm-hmm.
we can always change our mind by choosing to focus on something else. And for me, even though there's like different ways and different things that work for people at different times, one of the things that works really well for me, and I know works really well for a lot of people, is going into gratitude. And even
Yeah.
if you
Said
feel
that.
like your world is falling apart at the seams and you're weeping and your makeup is pouring down your face and you just don't feel like getting up off the couch or out of bed or whatever, you just don't have it in you, there is something that you
Yeah.
can be grateful
That
for. And
always
as
pulls
soon
you out.
Yeah. And
something.
as soon as you say one thing, just find something else. Find something else and keep finding something to be grateful for, because it does. It changes, the chemistry in the brain. It changes the vibration. It really up
Yeah.
levels you, and just the energy and the consciousness begins to shift. And so you said
Mhm.
something a few minutes ago, which reminded me of how we have been so convinced and sort of hypnotized in this into this collective idea of sort of creating our life experience from what goes on around us, and from what we know and from our memories and stuff like that, that
Mhm.
if we do that, then we're just going to kind of create this self-fulfilling prophecy of where the world is not even the world is going to show us. We're going to start to focus on or hone in on those things that we are convinced are part of why we aren't succeeding. We're just going to see more of them. We come in with a preconceived
Mhm.
notion or a hypothesis, if you will, an idea of what life is like. And then guess what? You're going to see all the evidence you need around
Yeah.
you to gather up and fortify your argument, which is then just in turn going to show you more stuff that's happening in your
Yeah.
life, all of which starts in your mind,
Yeah, you just
so
attract more of
awareness,
what you're focusing on, really. And that's the whole, like, what you focus on
that's it.
expands, but
Yep.
it also just creates more of what you don't want
Yeah.
if you're
So if you
focusing on that.
focus on,
Yeah.
yeah, gratitude, you will
Mhm.
find more to be grateful
Yeah.
for. You will, even if it's like, I'm thankful for all of these hot burning tears going down my face that I
Yeah.
can feel them. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Then you move on to the next thing. I'm thankful I can breathe. I'm
Yeah.
thankful I can breathe clean air. I'm thankful I can breathe clean air where there's nature all around. And it just builds and builds and builds and builds and builds.
Yeah. And it's scientifically proven that, yeah, like it generates all the right chemicals in your body and your brain to, lift your spirits, or, lift
Yep.
your joy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it totally works. And I love that whole concept of, we're all on the journey. Like, it just never ends. There's always going to be the unhealing. And the idea that I'm trying to think of I remember from my Unity days, it's like, let there be peace on earth, let it begin with me. And you said it earlier, because I think that's what a lot of people, I'm generalizing, but people tend to, especially women and mothers and stuff, like, they don't put themselves first a lot
Mm-hmm.
of the time.
Yep.
Um, so, but I think it's just like humanity in general, maybe, like, just being able to, you know, be aware of those limiting beliefs that we have. Because I think, like, what you do, it really inspires people to, um, like, be their infinite powerful selves. It's, I think,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm making any sense, but this, like, the whole society and collective consciousness, like, we're kind of all droning around, like, no, I mean, I think there's definitely people out there that are obviously, living their infinite potential. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'd say most of us aren't, right? Like, is that a fair assumption to
Well,
make?
I can't speak for everyone. I think
Yeah.
having just finished this quantum revelation book, and actually I just did a Sunday talk at CSL Victoria a couple of days ago, and it was on very much this and what Paul Levy calls his sort of community and his work, which is Awaken in the Dream. And it's about this idea that a lot of us have agreed upon and sort of are stuck in this collective dream where we believe that reality is something that is happening around us, that is happening outside of us, independently of
Mm-hmm.
us, instead of us actually actively, continually creating our reality. And that reality is not a continuous thing from like we're born until we die, that the universe and we are being refreshed and rebooted every single moment of every single day. And
Mm-hmm.
because, we're still sort of stuck, not well stuck, I guess, in this sort of classical or Newtonian view of the world of time and space and matter and what we're experiencing with our five senses, and that reality is something we're plunked into. And if you took us out of it, that it would still be going on. If you shift your perspective and look at the worldview from a quantum perspective or a quantum worldview where there's no time, there's no space, and everything is infinite potentiality, that means everything is possible all the time, then you can do and be anything you want ever, and
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to be bound by things like time or having enough energy, or I'm not in the right place or at the right stage of my life or anything like that. And with every single moment being a complete refresh, it's an opportunity. Every single moment, never mind like a brand new day, brand new
Mm-hmm.
moment is a brand new lifetime
Yeah.
to choose to focus on something different.
Yeah.
So I think that's happening more and more. Now, I'm also speaking from a very Western perspective. I don't know about indigenous cultures, and I don't know about other cultures where things might be seen or experienced differently. So I'm just going to put that in there because that has been my experience in this lifetime that I'm aware of anyway so far. So that's kind of where I'm coming from, with that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there has been a huge shift for me in the way that I show up in the world, thinking that every single
Mm-hmm.
moment I'm creating a new reality. Every single moment is a new me, and there are infinite possibilities to choose from, which means I can just leap and jump from reality to reality, possibility to possibility,
Mm-hmm.
or I can draw from, a possibility of something that I envision that isn't necessarily what I'm experiencing right now, and bring that into my present experience, thereby changing, the trajectory that I'm on to get me closer to that reality that I actually want to experience. Loopy,
Yeah.
trippy, amazing though.
Oh, well, I'm just so inspired by you. And I know that you're part of a global community that is learning and teaching this philosophy and just the whole, like, I mean, I just want to see, like you said in your statement, the work you do is empowering the conscious awakening of humanity so that together we can cultivate a global community founded in love. And that's kind of, obviously what we would all love to see in the world, especially with all the stuff that's going on right now. So I'm so, inspired by you and excited for the work that you're doing, and to really, inspire people to really open up to their own infinite possibilities. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what inspires me. And so I'm always listening for those little things that resonate with me, and, I mean, so that I can incorporate in my own life. And so what do I want to say? So what is your, I mean, you have so many gifts, but what do you feel your greatest gift is that empowers you? Somehow my light's gone. Oh. There we go. It's okay. Because you have so many gifts, but what do you think is your, how do I word this? Like, your greatest gift that empowers you to do this work, if that makes sense.
I am thinking right now what that feels like is just being open, just really being open to what wants, excuse me, what wants to be known, what wants to become up, what wants to come up, what wants to be revealed, what wants to be shared, discovered, released, just to be open, not to try and figure things out, even
Mm-hmm.
for myself, but especially when I'm working with clients, is
Yeah.
just as I'm sitting there listening, and holding space for them to share and feel and just go through whatever it is that they want to go through as they process and navigate, to just be open to what it is that is coming up in that experience, because opening up to that and opening up as that's that's the work that we do. That's like
Mm-hmm.
just vibrating at a higher level of consciousness, being open to intuitive little nuggets,
Mm-hmm.
ahas, wisdom, insights, translations, whatever they are, so that I can then, you know, offer something to support the client, or me in the moment, whatever it is, my prayer partners, congregation, community, friends, family, whoever,
Mm-hmm.
in making in sort of discovering that shift for themselves. Because I don't do anything for anyone. I'm there to support them, and I am there to just vibrate at a higher level of consciousness, knowing that whatever is going on, the client, me, whomever, is infinitely more powerful, creative, and resilient than any of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's the being open and not being attached to any kind of firm answers or solutions that
Mm-hmm.
those present themselves.
Yeah, and that in itself is really powerful because I think our mind wants to control
Yeah.
too. So I think you empower your clients, the people you're working with, to be open as well, to
Yeah.
receive and not be attached to any outcome or
Yep.
result
That's a
or
big one. Yep.
yeah. No, I think I just listening to you, that really came to mind that because I know, well, for me, it's like okay, I want to be, you know, how do I describe? Like, you know, I found my mind trying to control kind of like what I was thinking or what I was expecting, I guess.
Yeah.
But allowing, you know, just be with it and let whatever come up, comes up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
very powerful. Okay, we got to move along here. I know we have so much to talk about, but there's a lot more questions to ask here. So I know all the work and education that you've done has really inspired you, and it just continues to inspire you. Was there any one thing or any person that was kind of or thing that happened that kind of inspired you to follow this path? I know you've been on this journey for a while, but you've, you know, becoming a spiritual practitioner and a coach. I mean, that was kind of, was there anything in particular that was kind of the, I don't know, what do you call it? The turning point or tipping point
Okay.
that made
So,
you
I mean,
go, this is my purpose. This is what I want to do.
yeah, there have been many, and most recently, this class that I spoke about in the book, The Quantum Revelation by Paul Levy,
Yeah.
definitely up there as like super, super impactful and activational. And I mean, Dr. James as a teacher, and then Reverend Jonathan as my first teacher. If I go back sort of, because it's only been just under 5 years of formal study. And before that, there would be like Wayne Dyer and Louise Hay and you know, some of that other stuff. But I think it was in my first class, Foundations of Science of Mind with Reverend Jonathan Zenz while we were still in Toronto. So I started that class in Toronto and then finished it up on the road. And then when we got here to Victoria, it was when he offered us a spiritual principle that to this day is my absolute favorite and just feels like it is a spiritual realization and a gift and not so much a mantra, but almost a foundational life belief, even though I have my foundational life belief is something else. But it's this quote from Thomas Troward, which goes, "Principle is not bound by precedent." And when he first explained that, he explained sort of like one part of it in one class, and then he brought in another part of it in the next class. But essentially, when you break it down, principle is who and what we are. It's that universal energy, it's that universal creativity that is ongoing, eternal, infinite in scope, that is always, always happening. It's the essence of everyone and everything. That's principle. Precedent is something that happened. And so there was this something that happened, which happened once, you know, and then what ends up kind of tripping us up is we keep remembering it and keep reliving it and we keep dragging it into the present moment. And so the idea was that principle is not bound by precedent, that there is nothing that has ever happened that could ever, ever affect who and what I am unless I drag it into the present moment. But even as I drag it into the present moment and relive it and remember it as a memory, which my body doesn't understand that it's only a memory and not actually happening again and again and again,
right,
that it still doesn't change the very essence of who and what I am. And the more we tune into that essence, then the less charge, you know, the precedent or the thing that happened, you know, will have. But with quantum physics now, it's even more profound because there's no time and space, right? So it's not just what happened, it's what could happen in these infinite realities. Like it's really challenging for us to wrap our minds around infinitude, because
Yeah.
it's there's no beginning, there's no end. And so with all of that, all of those infinite possibilities of all of those things happening, all of those negative, seeming experiences, doubts, worries, thoughts, whatever, none of that could still ever diminish who and what we are at our core.
Yeah. And
That
that's,
to me
oh,
is
so
like, it
powerful.
just lands like no other, and is continually such a great reminder and a favorite of mine to offer to clients who are like, well,
Mhm.
I failed at this, before, so I'm just going to fail
Yeah.
at it again. Or, this happened in a relationship before, so I'm just going to attract that
Yeah.
kind of thing again. No,
Yeah,
no.
so powerful. And I remember you saying that to me in our session. And it is so powerful. And the way you just explained it really kind of it hits home much more powerfully now. But I mean, basically, it's like whatever happened before really doesn't matter in the whole scheme of
Yeah.
things. Is
And
basically what.
it's not to say, and it's so interesting with the word matter. It's not to
Yeah,
say that it doesn't have value, or that it doesn't, somehow impact us,
yeah,
or that when we're experiencing the memory of it, or, the whatever the experience itself, that it doesn't require attention, or the feelings that we're having require attention or something like that. It's just that it doesn't define you.
right.
And the
Yeah,
only
that's the
reason that
distinction.
you may think
Hmm.
it defines you is because you're letting it define you.
Yeah, you're
So
bringing it into your reality
yeah,
now when it was in the past.
yeah.
So wow, that's really powerful. I'll make sure to put that in the show
Okay.
notes.
Yeah, it's a writer
But
downer for sure. Almost every session
okay,
I
yeah,
have with someone, they're like, "What is that?" And they write it down.
you'll have to text it to me again.
Sure. Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to move on to. I mean, I think everything you're saying is just going to inspire people to really want to focus on self. So that's my next question. What advice would you give? But I think you've talked about it this whole time, that we really need to empower ourselves so that
Yeah.
we can, you know, uh, really know ourselves and our infinite power and what we have to offer the world.
Yeah.
Is that a good way of?
Yeah, I think it's great. And it's sometimes, and again, it's different things at different times,
Yeah,
at different junctures on our path. And, sometimes it's work that we can do on our own. Sometimes we need the support of someone who's maybe further along, or can even see things from a different perspective, because we're like too much in the thick of it. I think the
yeah,
key though is it's stepping into action. Like we have a saying in the science of
mm-hmm.
mind philosophy, kind of a meme, if you will: treat and move your feet. And the treat is stands for treatment, or not stands. It's the active form of spiritual mind treatment, which is also known as
Mm-hmm.
affirmative prayer. But don't just leave it at that. Don't just kind of like pray and it's like, I know
Yeah,
that my life is super awesome and amazing, blah blah blah, and this is it, and so it is. You got to step into action. Like, yes,
yeah.
we're endeavoring to
Gotta
live,
do something with
from
it.
the quantum, but we are still rooted in somewhat of a classical reality. And in order to, kind of live from that, you still got to kind of work with the tools that you have here. And that means you've got to step into action. And as you
Mm-hmm.
do, that shifts the energy. And that's almost kind of like some of that evidence, that you're being shown to, like, hey, well, you're taking the action to move forward towards your dreams. Here's something else that's going to help you. Here's someone else that's going to help you. Here's an
Mm-hmm.
opportunity. Here's an idea. Here's some money, like
Mm-hmm.
that's what happens.
Yeah,
You've got to take action.
yeah. And then from there, the confidence grows, the limiting beliefs just fall away, and you're proving to yourself a different
Yeah.
reality that you maybe didn't think was possible before.
Yeah.
So that's pretty awesome. All right, so let's look to the future then for you. So 5 years from now, how do you see your vision? What's your ultimate vision? So maybe 5 years from now, or just in general, like what do you see? Where do you see yourself going with your work, and what is your ultimate dream when it comes
Well,
to, yeah.
right now, my ultimate dream, even though I really do envision a global community, is to have my own spiritual center that is really focused on the creative arts, because music and dance and art, even books are just so important to me. And the artistry of creativity and the creativity of artistry is something that is just, it really speaks to my soul. So I would love
Mm-hmm.
to have an actual place where people can congregate, that is very vibrant and alive and engaging and draws people from all over the world. I would love to have a sister center or something like that somewhere else in the world that, is kind of has the same
Yeah.
values and is showing up in the world the same way. I would love to continue to be of service to my immediate community that is engaging in the work that I do, but then also to support other communities that maybe could use a little extra TLC or a little extra support and encouragement in whatever way that looks. I love the idea of working with high school teens, because if there's ever an age where kids are going through so much just by virtue of being a teenager, never mind throw in some stuff like COVID or other stuff that has been happening over the last year. It's a challenging time, and to be able to support kids and sort of like really activate in them, hey, all of this that you're experiencing, the things that are going on with your friends or at home or whatever in your body, you are so much more bigger than any of that. And if they could really sort of ground themselves confidently in who and what they are and approach life from that, wow, would there be amazing beings, even more amazing beings, coming out of our high schools at that time.
Exactly.
So
Yeah. Only if I had the wisdom I had now when I was a teenager, or have this wisdom you're talking about, that we can, I think it's important that kids, they're so like sponges, they would just eat it up, right? And yeah, I think it.
and then they also, I mean, I have a 16-year-old, Milana, right? Milana, who you've worked
Yeah.
with, and she's going to be 17 next month. And I learn more from her, I'm sure, than she learns from me, and so I just love, spending time with her friends. I love, spending time with our friends who are in their 20s, because it's a different perspective, it's a different approach to life. And the way they question the things that they aren't attached to, the things that they're interested in and care about. I mean, I would really like to, again, it's about remaining open, and not sort of like, I really got hooked into the music of the 80s and the 90s, and that's the music I'm going to listen to for the rest of my life because that's what I know. No, it's like open up to like hear all the new stuff that's out there, right? And there's new stuff coming out all the time. I'm not just talking music here. So to engage with younger people, that's one of the things I would like, not just for the community to keep growing, but to also like new perspectives, to engage with that, because I have my worldview right now, and I see the world the way I do, and so I still want to be challenged and nudged and encouraged to look in different, see the world in different ways and stuff. And I think that spending time with younger people is an amazing way to do it.
Totally. Yeah. I'm actually, like, for a while there, like, Connor was super annoying, but now he's like, he's becoming this little individual, free thinker, like kind of exploring his own creativity, and he's got his own music and interests. And I mean, it's completely different to when we were kids, but I mean, I'm learning to become more open to what he's listening to, what he's doing, what he's looking on, what he's looking up on Google or whatever, So it's quite exciting. Yeah. And I mean, yeah, he definitely teaches me things that I had no clue about before.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's move on to, I just want to ask you, you were a client of mine, and you did speak of our experience together. Just wanted to hear a little bit about how you felt before we did a personal branding shoot for you. I guess it's been 2 years now. And that was so much fun. How were you feeling a little bit before your photo shoot, and how did you feel throughout the process, and how did you feel about your photos? And
well, I love my photos, and I use my photos, and I am so excited for the next shoot because even though I look pretty much this, pretty similar to what I looked like, I think it was 3 years ago, Linda, not 2 years ago.
Was it? Oh yeah, 2017. Yeah. Oh my god!
And I know this was one of the tops that I wore then because it was a hot summery day like it is today, and I was really excited because I did some research, and I knew that I wanted to work with someone who was going to get me. And you just had this fantastic questionnaire that as I was filling it out, I thought, man, she's asking all the right questions. This is great. And then we had a conversation and found some common ground as we were talking. And then it I chose to go. I don't know if it's something you offer anymore, but I chose to go with a package where I ended up with 10 different images that I could use for print and web. And they were very sort of, personal branding lifestyle. Like, this is me, this is what I'm all about. And it was just such a fun day. Like I mean, it was hot. It was so hot. It was the end of September,
very hot.
and it just turned into a super summer day. And we had sunshine all day. And we went to, I think, 3 different locations. And 3 different outfits. One of them I had to change in the car because there was nowhere else, to change. And we ended up on the beach in the water, which was fantastic.
Oh yeah, that was amazing. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, just to end off the day. Yeah.
It was just fun is the word that keeps coming to mind. And I mean, even the makeup artist that you had at the time, Trish Monkhouse, she just, like, the 3 of us just seemed to get along so well. My husband Glenn was there, kind of, just putzing around in the background. He took some fun candid shots of us doing silly things. And it was just such a great experience. The one thing I will say is some of the poses where you're like, stick your neck out like this and whatever, to, like, you have the eye to look at. I'm like, oh my God, this feels like the most uncomfortable thing ever. But then you look at the image, it's like, wow, I look great.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of funny, how that works. It's like, okay, well, it just looks on camera, but maybe not necessarily how you would hold yourself in real life.
So it was such an amazing experience. And then, I mean, I'd had some experience with branding through the people that I work with in Toronto, and I still do with my friend Laura, who's an incredible branding expert. And so I knew, what I was looking for, the feel of it. And when I went through however many, I don't know, 1,000 photos or whatever, it was just, narrowing it down to the first 25.
I don't think there were thousands. There were hundreds.
It felt like a lot.
Yeah, well, we did shoot a lot.
Yeah. And it just, narrowing it down was easy. And then coming down to the final 10 really was also, it's like this or this or this. Yeah. And it was just such a great experience from beginning to end. And I'm just so grateful that it was such a fun and joyful experience, because it was a long day. It was hot. There were 3 outfit changes. There was an hour of hair and makeup and touch-ups throughout the day. Yeah. And to have camera makeup, like, I don't wear makeup at all. So to have camera makeup, never mind, like, just beautiful face makeup on a hot summer day. Yeah, that was like,
well, you looked amazing, and Trish did an awesome job, and you did a great job. I mean, and you were actually one of the best examples I have, like, of a awesome client from my perspective, because you did everything I asked. You completely gave everything you had to fill in that questionnaire. And like I always tell clients, and I told you this too at the beginning, like, this is going to help you. It's going to help me to a certain extent, but at the end of the day, I need to get to know you a little bit. I need to get a visual of kind of what you're looking for. So I get people to, create a Pinterest board of their inspiration photos. But really, it is a great exercise for clients to really get a good handle on, who am I as this business owner? What do I want to create? Who do I want to be? How do I want to show up in the world? And it's a really great foundation. So now when we do our next shoot, we're going to use that, but we're going to take it further with, okay, what are the other facets of your life and business that we want to highlight? And create a new theme, and, and build on it, right? So you really, really, were amazing, because you put your whole heart and soul into it. And, what do you call it? What's the word? Anyway, you did everything I asked you to do, and it all worked out so well, right? And I do those things for a reason, right? And that's ultimately, you had the experience that I wanted you to have, and you got the photos I wanted you to have, and you wanted to have. So that's amazing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Thank you.
So, well, thanks for sharing that. And you can visit Lesia at her website. It's Lesia Kohut, LESIAKOHUT.com. I'll put that in the notes. You'll see all the photos we did together, or some of them at least. And,
some of them, yeah, not all of them. Some of them,
not all of them.
Yeah, because
yet.
it's just one page right now. It's a landing page, so there's just enough of a taste to sort of give you an idea of the work that I do, some things coming up, and how to get in touch with me. And yes, some of Linda's amazing photography.
Yeah. And then you have your podcast, which we'll touch on a little bit here, but I think people just need to go to your podcast and listen because it's super entertaining and inspiring. And it's called Who Do You Think You Are? And maybe you just explain it briefly, like kind of what it is. And I mean, I'm going to be on the show soon, so you'll get to hear me.
Yeah. On your birthday, I believe. Right?
Yes.
June 12th.
June 12th.
The birthday edition. So the podcast is called Who Do You Think You Are? And I'm just going to warn people out there that there are other podcasts with the exact same name. So when you're looking for ours, then really use my name, search by my name, Lesia Kohut, LESIAKOHUT, and then the podcast will appear immediately. So it's available on my YouTube channel, which is just Lesia Kohut on YouTube. And then it's also available on the bigger podcast platforms like Spotify, Google, Amazon, Apple, Stitcher. There's some other stuff in there too, but those are the main ones if you're more of a listener versus a viewer. And it really is just a spontaneous, organic, conscious conversation that comes from me asking the guest, who do you think you are? And them answering. And then we just kind of go into this conversation, which really is an exploration into how our thoughts, beliefs, and feelings create our reality. And we've had a variety of people on and a variety of responses. And this is actually, one of the sort of inspirations for the event that we're also co-hosting next week.
Right. Yeah. And that's what we'll talk about next. So we are hosting a live event, which is basically the same concept. Who do you think you are? And we are going to discuss how our thoughts and feelings and what was the last thing? Beliefs shape our reality. And it's going to be a great event. It's a free event happening on June 8th at 7 p.m. And I will put the link to register in the show notes. And that's going to be exciting. And then you're going to hear me. I'm being interviewed on June 12th, but it's not going to air the same day, right? Or is it live?
It'll be within a couple of days. So probably by Monday evening, because we do all the recording on Saturdays. So by Monday evening, it'll come out. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Awesome. And then be sure to visit Lesia's website because you host other workshops. One is money flow. What is it? Money flow or
money woes. So that one has ended for now. So So just the next, that was a 4-part one. And then this one that we're doing together is coming up. And then we'll see what unfolds from that, because the money flow or money woes started as one conversation and extended into, 4. And, and I am still finishing my classwork and my book for this course, that ends in July. So I really am looking forward to getting that done. But there definitely will be more, because it's just such a fun way to engage with people and to just have some really fantastic conversation.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, anyway, you were an amazing guest. Thank you so much. And I'm excited for my interview. Everyone, please follow Lesia on Facebook and Instagram. I'll put the handles in the show notes, and be sure to check out Who Do You Think You Are podcast. And just be ready to be inspired and really, focus on yourself and empower yourself, because that's what we're all here for. We all have infinite possibility. And I just love that. I mean, it's something that I'm just trying to train my brain. Okay, you're an amazing person. You have so much to offer, instead of like, oh my God, you're such a loser.
Yeah.
That's an exaggeration, but you know what I mean. It's so empowering. And I thank you so much for chatting today. We've been talking for like an hour, so it's been great. So much information and inspiring advice and wisdom. So we'll see you soon. So thanks everybody for listening. It's Linda Mackey of Linda Mackey Creative and the Eloquent Entrepreneur. And you can find me at the link below as well. So have a great afternoon, evening, or morning. All right. Bye for now.
Thank you, Linda. Bye.
Thank you.